What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another exciting personal finance video. If you guys are new to this channel, if you're into personal finance, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out my website, My Road to Wealth and Freedom, where I just published a really cool article. I hope you guys like it. It's about the wealth effect and how that can really screw us over as, investors. So be sure to head over to the website and check that out. I'm going to be discussing that also in today's video. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, so please do your own research. Consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decision like buying gold and silver or pursuing any of the financial strategies that I discuss on this YouTube channel. Okay, guys. So pretty cool day today. CPI number came in a little bit below expectations. So that could be some evidence to the Fed that the inflation that we've been seeing is in fact transitory, as they've been saying all along, or it just could be a blip. Maybe this inflation raising is transitory because of the impact of the Delta variant and a bunch of other things going on in China. So is tame inflation transitory and we're really going to see high inflation, or is the high inflation numbers we've been seeing transitory and we're going to start getting back to kind of like that disinflationary environment we saw the past 10 years since the global financial crisis? Who knows? But anyway, gold's up on that news. It's past that coveted $1,800 mark. It's I think 1806 last time I checked. Silver is almost at 2385. Stock market indices are down. I think the Dow's down 200 points. So we have a few different things happening. But what I really wanted to discuss was I've been kind of doing a lot of thinking, and I've been on this financial journey for more than 10 years, I guess, maybe 12, 15 years, something like that. And I remember I like to track my net worth, as a lot of financial bloggers do, and their passive income and stuff like that. I'm no different. I like to kind of follow along, check that out, watch the progress happening, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And because these journeys do take time, they're long. Some last a lifetime. Some people can do it in like 10 years and stuff like that. It really depends on a variety of different factors. But one of the things I want to focus on today is I've been thinking a lot, about the wealth effect. And for those of you who don't know, if you guys read any financial media or whatever, you might hear this term, the wealth effect, and kind of what is that? What does it mean? And I discussed in this blog post, how this wealth effect is basically because asset prices rise, people feel richer, consumers feel okay about spending more. I mean, if you're thinking about buying a new car or putting in a swimming pool in your backyard, and you just found out, hey, my house is up 20% since last year, that might be 100 grand, that might be a couple hundred grand, who knows? People are like, oh, okay, well, it's okay that I spend this money. It's okay that I do, like, get a new car. It's okay that I do this because I'm like the net worth, it's all a kind of a wash. I'm up so much, it's okay to spend. And I've been really like I made, I don't want to say like my family crossed that $1 million mark back in the summer 2017. And I've been thinking ever since, like I always thought, if only I made 100 grand a year, it would be all good. Oh, if only, that number kept changing. First year 50 grand, and it's great. And it's, oh, if I made 70, it'd be so much better. And finally you get into earning some serious cash, and then it's still not really all that different. Same thing like with investments. If only I had this much, if only my net worth, I can't wait till it hits $1 million. And I found in regards to my family on my journey here, um, I found that hitting $1 million in net worth is great. It's a milestone and stuff like that. But I really wasn't celebrating a whole lot, because couple reasons. Number one, this is going to sound completely ridiculous, and I realize it, but honestly, $1 million is just not what it was when I was growing up. In the late '80s, early '90s. $1 million was actually meant something. That was a lot of money. You could buy, I don't know how many houses, 10, 15 houses maybe, with something like that. Today you're lucky, and most regions of big cities and that if you can even get a detached home for $1 million. So it is kind of a joke. But nonetheless, a lot of financial personalities and bloggers and stuff like that, YouTubers, everyone's kind of reaching to achieve that goal, and it is not an easy feat, even in this day and age, even with you know the money inflation and all that stuff. But the second thing I want to say is, like, there's a difference between a net worth, and this is where it really comes out with, like, there's a difference between feeling rich, i.e., hey, my net worth is $1 million, and actually being rich. And that's kind of what I talk about on that blog post, which I encourage all of you to go over and check it out. Links in the description. And my experience with that is, it's, your stocks, or you now have $1 million stock portfolio, or your house, you have $1 million of equity in your home. Yeah, it's all great. But your life really doesn't change all that much. And because that's not really the stuff that's impacting your day-to-day, month-to-month finances. Usually the stuff that's impacting the average person's day-to-day, month-to-month, week-to-week finances is things like our debt, like our carrying costs, our mortgage payment, the monthly bills, our groceries, that type of thing, car payments if you have that. And this is what gets into this whole wealth effect. You feel richer, but you actually really aren't. On paper, things look great, and that's what I kind of realized too when I did my little $1 million net worth post years ago. It's like, you know what? Yeah, it's on paper it looks great, but, like, once you start digging into the details in something like a net worth report, there is a huge quality aspect to that I see a lot of personal finance people. It's almost like an illusion, right? I follow lots of different bloggers and YouTubers and on paper their stuff looks phenomenal, especially some of these guys. They got tons of real estate, but their debt loads are also phenomenal. And that can be a huge problem, right? It's, if you're borrowing money and investing in something, you buy an asset. They can rise and fall, and depending on when you buy it, it's really going to determine how well you actually do in the long run. And what I find is that, I was sort of guilty of this too. I had a couple duplexes that I owned, my primary residence. At that time when I hit that $1 million net worth, I actually had a $700,000 debt. I had a line of credit. I was, 40, 50 grand. I had, home mortgage. I had two mortgages on the rental properties. And it's just like, you know what? Like, I just kept thinking, there has to be something more here. Like, what am I missing? Like, I'm carrying huge loads of debt for what? And that's really when I began my journey of kind of deleveraging. And that's why, if you've been following this channel for the past year, if you've been following even my blog and website and that over the past couple of years, I've been, like, massively paying down debt, deleveraging, selling off, my rental properties. They're just too much hassle. They weren't making money. They weren't performing. I had property manager issues, and they were out of town, so I couldn't actually manage them myself without a huge pain in the ass, that type of thing. So, yeah, that's kind of what I got on, and I really started focusing on, and so I started focused on building passive income. Obviously, my rental properties, I had stocks, tons of dividend stocks, and I was making, pretty decent passive income. But all that passive income was basically stuck in, like, different retirement accounts, or, there's not a whole lot of it. Maybe, let's say, half of it is accessible. So all my passive income would always be automatically reinvested, just recycled back into, buying more of the same dividend stock or ETF or whatever it is that I was getting into. Meanwhile, my day to day, my monthly expenses kept on increasing, right? Because we are seeing, inflation, food inflation, all sort of insurance, everything. So it's just like, what? And now to add in an additional layer to that is you have this sort of taxation. In Canada, we're taxed a lot on every dollar of earned income above these different thresholds and that. So it's really like you're on this treadmill for a while. And the more money you make, the more you pay in taxes, and but your quality of life really isn't changing, and in fact it's getting more and more expensive. More of your money needs to go to daily expenses, and it's this kind of tug of war and this kind of tension that exists. And I just got thinking, like, the March 2020 happened, and I just really did a lot of hard thinking, like, hey, what if I lost my job? I mean, I didn't, but what if I did? You'd still owe, I think we owed 260,000 on this mortgage. What if, I'm sure I could get another job, but there's always that, what if you can't, or if you can't find another job that pays the same or same quality of life, and all that stuff. There's tons of different, different reasons here. And that's when I really kind of realized that, what, I could borrow and invest huge amounts of money, and in addition to putting up my own capital to get enough passive income to cover my monthly bills, my family's monthly bills, and that. And I think the number was about 750,000. So $750,000 going into risky assets. Stocks are ultimately risky assets. They rise and fall, and it's all fine and dandy if you don't need your money today. But when the S&P 500's at all-time highs, 4,500 or 4,400 or whatever, there's a lot of downside risk. I don't care who you are or what you think. There's huge risks out there. Even when it was at 3,000, there's huge risks out there. So I mean, I don't want to be the last guy in the door, and I don't want to be the guy caught holding the bag. It really doesn't matter. We're so overvalued now, um, that it doesn't really matter, if you bought in last year or what. Like, when things start unwinding, it's gonna happen pretty fast, and it's usually the guy like me who's stuck holding the bag. So I don't want to play that game. And so what's the other thing I could do? Is I could just suck it up and pay off the debt, and that's the safest route to go. And that's exactly what I decided to do. I kind of got rid of my dividend stocks, or a good portion of them, to just pay down this mortgage, get out of debt, 100% out of debt, and have a little emergency fund, have some precious metals, some cash, physical cash on hand. And I just don't want to stress anymore. I don't want that. I'm not going to play the roller coaster ride um, until it's all paid off, and until it's um, until I'm in a position where I can invest in whatever I truly don't need the money. And that's what I think a lot of people, a lot of these financial bloggers, and that, I feel like that's kind of the error of their way, if you will. They fall into this wealth effect thing where it's all great until it ends. And the fact of the matter is asset prices can rise and fall. Passive income can be destroyed. You think you get something good and secure, like, hey, if the stock market crashes, companies cut all their dividends, I still got my rental properties to fall back on. And then the government declares, an eviction ban and rent moratoriums and stuff like that, and then you're totally screwed. You're on the hook paying for all these rental properties that you own, and that's a real story. And I think there's not a whole lot, like, again, there's not a whole lot of coverage of this stuff in the mainstream media. I haven't seen any landlords say that they're really hurting and stuff like that, but I've been hearing it. That's the thing. And so that's just kind of my thing. It's always how I try to do things is from a position of strength. Everything you want to do, you want to do it from a position of strength. You'll have the most success if you do it from a position of strength. That's just been my experience. I've, like, done things when I wasn't quite ready financially, and I really struggled and suffered, and it didn't go as easy. It was a real, you know, slog to get through it. And I've done things the other way around when I was like in a really good financial position, and it's always so much less stressful. It's so much easier to do from a position of financial strength. So that is going to be my approach. Get out of debt, completely out of debt, paid off home, have some cash savings, have some precious metals, things held outside of the system. So you're not going to be a victim. And then my plan is basically I'm going to be kind of rebuilding these passive income streams from a position of strength, and we'll have a whole lot more money to throw at our investments, and it'll just be a whole lot less risk. And we'll have different life choices. Then you don't need two incomes. You can probably get by on one income or no income, depending on how much investment income that you can make. So that's kind of what I've been thinking. I've been doing a lot of like soul searching these past few years. So, like what is true wealth? Of course, there's things like relationships and all that stuff, health, and setting all that stuff aside. Like in financial terms, what is actual true wealth? And to my mind, it's not having like a balance sheet that's saddled with huge debt. Um, Weighed against asset prices that are or and the different asset classes that are actually quite risky at all-time highs, and are subject to, and that's what I think, like a lot of people don't stress test their own net worth, their own personal balance sheets, and they really should. What would happen if interest rates doubled or tripled from here? I mean, we're at like 0% or 1% or something like that. I mean, if it goes to 3%, well, what's the value of that rental property going to be? What's the value of your home going to be? What's the value of those dividend stocks? I I love everybody. A lot of the dividend guys are always kind of shitting on bonds and stuff like that, and with good reason. But really, when they think about it, like they've done so well in their dividend stock, their dividend strategy, that's done so well because we are at record low interest rates. Because a lot of the money that would have gone into bonds has actually gone into dividend stocks, which like the blue chip dividend stocks are kind of bond proxies, right? Where can you go get a 4% yield if you can't get it on a 10-year or whatever? Well, you'll just go and buy a bank stock or buy utility or something like that. Um, Maybe Procter and Gamble or whatever. So I do find it kind of funny. It's like when bonds, what they don't understand, I guess, what a lot of people don't understand is they just kind of take that narrow view. Hey, I'm a stock guy. I'm a dividend guy. And I had my share of dividend stocks too, and I did it for the exact same reasons. Why would you put your money in bonds? But there is the flip side. If interest rates do go up, not only will bonds go down, but these dividend stocks are going to come crashing down too. Um, I don't know why they feel like somehow, some way, these dividend stocks are somehow going to make it through any meaningful interest rate increases, any sort of semi normalization. Um, and we don't have to look too far. See what happened in 2018, um, the fall of 2018, um, to the end of the year. That's what it looks like when interest rates start coming up. Say goodbye to all these dividend stock market goes down quite a bit, about 25-30%, something like that. Housing's gonna take a huge plunge. So well, that's kind of how it goes, and I just hope people are prepared for it. But back to my thing, true wealth. What do I think is true wealth? And to me, in a financial sense, it's financial security. I want a paid off home. I want cash savings. I want to be completely debt free. I want to have fully funded retirement accounts and education accounts. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about true wealth, right? Um, and you could add on to that, of course, maybe having enough passive income to cover all your family's expenses or whatever. But to me, having the paid off home is a big one. It's our largest expense. Cash savings, it just protects you from these market fluctuations. Being completely debt free means you don't really have a whole lot of risk, right? Having money funding your child's education, uh, having money flowing into retirement accounts, and that's kind of just your future, right? You're securing your future. You're securing your children's future. You're not going to get that huge hit, when you're in your 40s or 50s and your kids going off to college, and you want to help them out, but it's too tight. You got to save for retirement. Like there's just I'm a big believer in kind of planning and having things fully funded at an early stage. It's always easier to put in, the $1,000 a year or $2,000 a year into a kid's education plan than it is to come up with like 50 grand a year when they're actually in school. So it just makes sense to kind of, put live below your means, say throw a little bit into these accounts and that. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about true wealth. That's why I don't want to fall into this whole wealth effect stuff and phony net worth numbers. And, I always say when I do my net worth reports, this is a quality, like I'm trying to build a quality net worth where it's not, I could have a net worth of $10 million and you guys will look and I'll have 30 million in debt or something like that. Like, is that, to me, like if you were looking at a company's balance sheet, and that's kind of how I think about my finances, kind of like I'm running my own little business, I guess. It's like, is that a company that you're going to invest in, or are you going to look at the one that has low debt to income ratios, low, a nice amount of cash on the balance sheet, maybe some nice growth assets, like maybe a rental property or like some stocks or something like that. That's kind of what you want to see in companies, you know, versus, the risky company that's mired in debt, that it's only doing well because of, the record low interest rates. One day this will all come to an end, and the people who have planned and counted on, this side of the trade, they're going to be in a horrible shape. And hopefully they'll wake up and realize, and that's why I wrote the post, and that's why I'm doing this video right now. I had this kind of epiphany when I was thinking about the wealth effect, thinking about, my financial journey, net worth versus passive income, and all of that, and kind of, really how to balance risk, and what is true wealth. So tell me what you guys think. What's your definition of true wealth? Is there something that maybe I'm forgetting or I'm not including in this? I'm always interested to hear what others are thinking, what they've noticed on their journeys, because that's kind of the way this is, right? We all kind of learn from each other, and hopefully we all succeed together. Okay, that's it for this video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out my website, My Road to Wealth and Freedom. As I said, the link's in the description. Check out that article on the wealth effect. You can check out my net worth. I threw that up at the first of the month. Just made the big mortgage payment. I'll do another video on that coming up. So hope you all have a good day. Take care, and we'll see you back here soon.